Hey everybody, it's Edie and welcome to a Year in the Life journal class. I'm so glad that you decided to join me on this journey, and I really hope that you find this class informational and helpful and that you get those memories out of the box and into your journal. So first things first, let's talk about what the Year in the Life journal is. A Year in the Life journal basically just documents a year in your life. You don't have to start in January. This can be picked up at any time and started any day of the year. You can continue it for a consecutive year, or you can just work in it sporadically, whatever works for you. It's called a year in the life, but that doesn't mean that it goes from January to December in one calendar year. This is about finding your patterns and what works for you, finding time that works for you to work in this journal and to stick your memories in the journal without losing them. You can use any books and materials that you like for this class. I'll be showing you some of the things that I've used in my book, but feel free to use anything that you want. You can make your journal by hand. You can use a smash book like I am, or you can use, anything from a photo album to a composition notebook or anything else that you can find in between. Whatever works for you, whatever's going to hold your memories best for you is the journal that you need to find and use. Like I said, I'll be using a smash book only because I don't want to make a journal. These have a nice spiral binding, and they also have inserts that you can add more pages to if you need to. Plus you can always glue in little tabs and fold outs into these journals. I really like that it comes with the pen. It's got the ink pen and the glue with it. You can buy the pen separately. You don't have to buy a smash book to find this pen, but I really, really love this pen and I highly recommend it. It's really simple to add elastic to your own journal, and I can do little videos for other tips and techniques for things like that throughout the year. If you have requests for things like that, you can always leave a comment or a suggestion in the Facebook group, and I can always shoot a quick video and show you guys how to do stuff like that. Speaking of the Facebook group, if you haven't already joined us, come on over and join. You should have gotten a link for the Facebook group in your original email. So go click that link and join the Year in the Life Facebook group. That way you can connect with other people who are in the class. You can ask me questions. You can share photos or tips that you may have discovered for your Year in the Life journal. And you can see any check-ins or additional tips and techniques that I will post. I think that's about it for now, so come on down to my desk and let's get started on the Year in the Life journal. Okay, let's talk about our Year in the Life journal. This is my Year in the Life journal from 2013, and I want to kind of give you a walking tour of this book before we start on our actual journal for this year, because as I worked in this journal, a lot of things happened, and there are just a lot of really cool tips and techniques that I wanted to tell you about. So it's easy for me to flip through this book and talk about those things as we go. So you'll notice that my cover is actually pretty bare. I never went back and decorated the front cover. So you may find that your cover is beautiful and completely decorated and gorgeous and all that. But you may find that your cover is pretty bland as well. Whatever works for you is absolutely fine. You can hand make your journal, you can buy them from a store, or you can kind of build them as you go throughout the entire year. You can use altered books, you can use composition notebooks, you can use a smash book like I am, or like I said, a handmade journal. So let's start talking about the book. What I did was wrote A Year in the Life 2013 here on my cover. And the only adornment on my cover is actually an apple sticker. I got my Mac this year, so I stuck my apple sticker on the cover. Let's talk about how we want to actually start our books. Now, anything that I talk about in here, feel free to use what works for you and forget the rest. If you don't feel the need to do a word of the year or to keep an important dates list, then scrap that and throw it away. However, if any of these techniques really speak to you, then hopefully you will incorporate them into your journal. So what I did over here on the inside cover was write important dates, and you can see I have a list here. I haven't finished anything past August. I need to go back through my journal and write them here on the cover, but it's just important dates, things that happened through the year, really cool things or important things or birthdays or events that I may want to go back and look at in my journal. So they're right here in the front cover, so I can always just go find that month and find the event in my book. Also important information, it's good to keep in here. I got an Adobe Photoshop Elements disc, and you know they come with the activation codes. I decided to write my activation code in here so that it would always be handy. I can always refer back to that. You want to put your name and the year in your book somewhere. Now I'm using a Smash book, and this is my Smash book for this year, and you can see they have this little tiny page here. I put that page to use. You're supposed to actually rip it out, but I put mine to use. So what I did was actually covered it in paint and paper, and this is where I wrote my name. I wrote a year in the life journal, and I put the year. It's really important that you at least put your name and the year somewhere inside your book. You can do it on the front cover, you can do it on the inside cover, you can do it on the first couple of pages, in the back, wherever you want to put it, but you just want to remember what year you're working on. I also found a really pretty quote and stuck that on my name page, my title page, I guess. I also added a little section for goals, things that I wanted to work on or work towards in the year 2013. And some of them I reached and some of them I didn't completely reach, but at least I was working towards throughout the whole year. There's still more room here. I could write something else, or I could have written more goals or written about the goals that I achieved. It's just, you know, something that I wanted to make sure that I had in my journal and had it available to look at. Another one of those kinds of things, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I do choose a word for the year every year. And my word for 2013 was achieve. So I actually wrote the word achieve and then did journaling all around the word, things that I wanted to achieve for the year and what this word meant to me and what I wanted to work towards. So every time I opened up my book, the first thing I saw was my name and my word for the year. So it was always right there in front of me, and I was always working towards it and reminded of it. So right here is kind of where the actual memory keeping starts for me. If I got business cards throughout the year, or, you know, cards with important phone numbers on it, I always stuck those in here. You know, they may not be right in the front cover, but I know they're somewhere in the book. So whenever I need to go get my hair cut, I always come right back to the front of my book, and I have my hairdresser's name and the location and the phone number and the backup person. So if my girl's not there, this is the person I go to. I also made sure to stick any little inspirational quotes or, you know, just pretty little things, art inspiration. Anything that I found along my journey through the year, I just stuck it right here into my book. As for the memory keeping, I wrote the date for everything that I put into this book. Whether it was a sticker, a piece of ephemera, or just some journaling, I made sure to write the date for, you know, whatever the event was. If I stuck a piece of ephemera in here, I made sure to journal about it. There's also a lot of journaling in here without ephemera, but if there's ephemera in here, there is also journaling about it. So what I would often do is stick the ephemera in here and then journal underneath it or on an adjacent page or kind of wherever it would fit. But, you know, I wanted to make sure that I knew why this little piece of whatever it was in here. So for example, this one, we went to see The Hobbit, and I found this pretty little definition of precious. So this is the definition of precious, and this is our little package that our 3D glasses came in. So that's what I stuck in here. For some reason I didn't have the movie stubs. I think they got lost along the way. And then I just did a little bit of journaling that we went to see it in 3D, how we felt about it, and what our favorite part was. That's all I journaled. I also wrote pretty little quotes that I might have heard or seen or found along the way, and just little snippets of the year. So on this page, this is kind of how my journaling through the entire book goes. I don't generally take a whole lot of time to journal, and in a lot of other journal classes and in a lot of other memory keeping classes, there's like this pressure, this people feel the need to do a lot of journaling and to write down like whole days events and like document every single day, like you know, like you have to do something every single day. I never felt the need to do that. If something happened, if there was something that I wanted to remember, if we did something fun, then I would jot it down. But you don't have to feel the need to journal in this book every single day, or to write something in here, or to do something every single day. Whenever something happens, stick it in your book. And also another thing about the journaling, for me, I liked my book to look kind of messy and just, you know, a little bit wild, because that's how I live. I live by the seat of my pants. So my journaling is just kind of spread out through the page. So I have January 12th up here, and then this little squiggly line is for January 25th, and then I have January 27th over here. So you can see they're really spaced out, but every time I stuck a piece of ephemera in here, there is some journaling to explain why that piece is in here. So this is movie stubs, and up here about the movie. This is just about a snow day that we had. And then this little piece of ephemera here, I got a gift from a friend. It was a Wicked bath towel. It's actually a beach towel. And this was the tag off of the beach towel. So I stuck that in here and then journaled about it. Again, any business cards that I got or important things that I needed to keep up with, I found a way to stick them into my book. Let's flip a little bit further and start talking about some of the other things that I stuck into my book and how I put them in here. One of the best things that I found to stick in my book was these little bags. If you get little bits of stuff or things that you don't want to tape or staple or glue into your book, you can get these little baggies. I actually found a bunch. I found a pack of them at the dollar store, and they were Valentine's books, and they just had little, Valentine's bags, and they just have little hearts on them, but they work for the entire year. So if you can find little baggies like this, I found a pack of 25 for $1, and I always keep a few of them tucked into the back of my journal so that anytime I need one, I have them handy. Even if I'm not home, I have one of these little baggies, and I can stick my ephemera or, you know, my little bits of stuff into the baggie, and then I don't lose any of it. So this was the day that I got my Mac, so I stuck my little Mac book here in a baggie. Another thing that you can do is insert extra pages. This was a run flyer that we had. We did a Valentine's Day run, and there's a map in here. And so this can take up a lot of space, and it doesn't really fit into my book because this map is bigger than my book, and I needed a way to be able to open the map out and see the whole thing. So you can really get creative with how you insert other pages or ephemera and things like that into your journal. And if it can be attached in here, do whatever you feel is right. Do whatever you need to do to get it stuck in here. So, and we'll talk about some of these things throughout the year in the Facebook group. So make sure that you have joined the Facebook group so that you can see little tips and tricks and techniques like this throughout the year. Again, this is more about the run. So let's flip a little further here. Again, here's another one of those baggies that I was telling you about. This was all stuff from that run. Now you'll notice that my book is kind of sporadic. So the run information is here, and then I journal about it here. We went to see a movie on the same day, a date night, and so all of that journaling is there. And then this stuff has nothing to do with the run. This stuff here in the middle. Nothing to do with this run. Again, this has nothing to do with the run. However, this page is about that run that was back here. This stuff here is the same as this stuff here. Now this might not work for you. You may want all of your stuff right together on the same few pages, and that is absolutely fine. But the reason I'm showing you this is because I don't want you to feel like you have to put everything in consecutive order. For me, because I'm using a smash book, some of the pages are fairly blank and good for writing on, and some of the pages are not good for journaling on. So you can either stick journal cards in here like I did for these few little pieces of ephemera, or you can just stick your ephemera on here and journal on your other pages, which I did in this book as well. So I would stick a piece of ephemera down like I did here, and all the journaling for it is back on the other page. Also, I found some creative ways to attach things to my journal. I use safety pins here. This is our bibs from the run, and you attach your bibs to your shirt with your safety pins. I use the same safety pins, and I just punched holes right into my journal page and stuck it right on there. So your book, you'll follow like a consecutive line throughout the whole year, but don't feel like you have to put everything together. Do what works for you in your journal. Now, if you need to be extremely organized and precise and have everything together, like have all of that run, you know, the journaling and all of the ephemera and all of the little keepsakes all together on the same page, then do that. But if that just doesn't work for you, then don't be afraid to skip around in your book. This is another one of those little page inserts that I could use. I just kept it stuck in the book so that if I ever needed to add a page, I would have one of these handy and I wouldn't have to go find my stack of these page inserts. So I always kept extra little bits of things that I would need to use in my book. You can see again here, I did some art journaling. I just painted a little bit in here, drew a little bit of stuff, and then stuck some journaling cards on there. This month, we didn't do a whole lot of stuff where we collected memorabilia, but I did a lot of journaling. And you can see this is March 18th, March 20th, March 21st, the 26th, and then I skip all the way to February 17th, and then February 6th, because apparently I just had a little bit of room here, and this was an idea that I had. This was a lot of journaling. So, you know, my book kind of bounces around, but it's all fairly within the same time frame. Any cards that I got throughout the year, I stuck into my book. Anytime we went to a school event or anything where we got flyers, I stuck those into my book. I often used tape or glue or, as you saw, the safety pins, whatever works for me at the time. And whatever is going to hold the keepsake into the book the best. More journaling, memories, just little things, and I always wrote, you know, if I put ephemera in here, I journaled about it. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the way that I attach things to the pages. Stickers, I obviously just stuck in here, but I used a lot of washi tape. And I used a lot of the glue from the pen that comes with the Smashbook. And I'll talk to you about these pens in just a little bit. Now, I didn't mind having things layered up in this book, but I wanted to be able to see everything. So often I would do little layers. I would, you know, stick something down with a bunch of washi tape. Like this is 3 different things. They can all be flipped up because there's stuff on the back of most of them. And I wanted to be able to see the front and the back. So I would just put washi tape in one little section so that I could flip it. And then I could lay something else over the top of this, but I can still see what's underneath. I know there's still stuff there. So I might put it a little cockeyed, or lay it a little crooked, or move it just a little off center so that I can still see that there's stuff underneath here that I want to look at. Again, I used safety pins. And a great tip is to put just a little bit of washi tape or those these things, the paper reinforcers. They're just little circles. You can put those kinds of things on your pages, and that will help protect your page from tearing if you do use safety pins. Just a little tip there. And this is my book. I did this through the entire year. Every time we went anywhere and I collected something, I stuck the little piece of ephemera into my book. And you can see some of the pages flip this way, and then this thing has to come kind of around this way, but I can get to everything. I can completely open these books out so So I did whatever worked for me. And sometimes that meant just using one little tiny piece of washi tape. Sometimes that meant gluing the back of something down. I even stuck things in here that weren't flat, that weren't traditionally keepsakes. But like for example, this thing I glued down. It's a piece of real cotton. We were in North Carolina and we went to a Christmas village thing, and then on our way home when we were driving, there were cotton fields, and this is actual cotton from a cotton field, and it was just all on the side of the road. So we stopped and I grabbed a little piece of it to stick into my book. So you can stick pretty much anything into these books. If you can find a way to attach it, don't be afraid to stick it in your book. Alright, so then let's talk about what I have in my book at all times. I keep the little baggies in here. I also kept tape in here throughout the whole year, and one of the things that I learned was I did keep a little roll of tape, just a strip of tape rolled up and stuck right here, and I could always just tear it off and use it as I needed, but that tore my book. So I have some cool little techniques that I'm going to show you to help you be able to keep tape in your book all year round and keep it with you, so that if you carry your book out, you can tape stuff right into it. I really highly recommend this type of pen. Smashbook is the only one that I know of that makes it. It's an ink pen on one end, and it's got a fine tip, so it's perfect for writing. And then it's got a glue stick on the other end. I've been using this all year, and I glued a lot of stuff in there, and I'm nowhere near the bottom of this glue pen. However, if you do nothing but glue, you may end up having to buy an additional glue stick. It's really easy to create these little elastic tabs on your book if you've made a homemade book, or if you're using, for example, an altered book or a composition book. If you want to know how to make these, then just leave a comment in the Facebook group or message me, and I will do a quick video on how to make these little tabs. But I really recommend keeping one of these ink pens or something similar, either an ink pen and a glue stick separately somehow attached to your book like this, or one of these pens, which are really super handy. So I kept tape with me all the time, I kept the little baggies with me all the time, and I kept this pen with me. And if we went somewhere, like if we went on vacation, I would carry my Year in the Life journal with me. But oftentimes I found myself, well, let me just get this pen back in here. Oftentimes I found that it would be a week or two and I would be behind in my journal. Like I would have this little pile. I always kept a little pile of my keepsakes, and you know, a week or two would go by and I'd accumulate this little pile, and then I would sit down and work in my journal while we were watching TV. So you may find that you can't always stick your stuff right into your journal, and that's okay. You just don't want to get too far behind, because then you end up with the same problem of everything staying in a drawer, and then you forget the memories. You do want to do this every couple of weeks or so at least, so that you don't forget anything. And even if you just write down some little something in your journal to spark a memory, you can go back and really fill it in, you know, a week or so later. Okay, now before we start working on this year's journal, I wanted to talk to you about some of the supplies that you saw in my journal and some of the things that I really recommend. These are the page inserts. You can find these, they are Smashbook product. Again, I can show you how to make these, so if you would like a tutorial for how to make these on your own, leave a comment in the Facebook group and I will do a tutorial showing you how to make these little page insert tabs for basically any spiral bound book. It doesn't have to be a Smashbook, and these could actually be glued in if you don't have a spiral book, because these little hooks here actually hook onto the spirals. But these could be glued in to an altered book or composition book or handmade journal as well. Those are really handy. I really recommend sticky notes of different colors and shapes and sizes, because if you have pages that are highly decorated, it's hard to journal on those. Plus these are bright colors, it draws your eyes to something, so it's a great way to get attention to something that you really want to remember. Next, I really recommend a date stamp. I hand wrote the date on pretty much everything in my Year in the Life journal, but I also stamped the date in there, especially if I had a lot going on that day. And it was also just something pretty in my journal. Here, I'll show you what this looks like. Mine is actually a Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamp. And I don't know the exact name of the stamp, but I think it just might be ticket date stamp, I'm not sure. But you can see here, it's got a space here. I always just wrote the year right there, and then it's got all of the months and then the days of the month right here. So I would write the year, circle the month, and then circle whatever days I wanted to bring attention to. And so there was stuff about both of those days written on this page. Again, the little baggies, you can use little snack bags or sandwich bags or treat bags, or the actual little scrapbooking bags. You can glue these in, you can tape them in, safety pin them in, however you need to attach them to your book. But they're really good for holding things like flower petals or things that you don't want to glue down, things that you want to actually be able to take out of your book and hold and touch and feel and look at and, you know, flip over, and things that you don't want to permanently attach to your book. The baggies are a really, really great option for that. Also, these page reinforcers, they're just the little circles, and you normally put them on a sheet of notebook paper to reinforce the holes. These are super handy, especially if you're using things like the safety pins, or if you're punching holes in your book and then hanging things off of it. These little page reinforcers are really handy for that. Now this is one of my very favorite tips. If you remember, I said I kept tape in my book, and I did keep just a piece of washi tape rolled up upon itself and stuck into my journal, and so I would peel it off and tear a piece and stick it back in there. However, that did tear the inside journal cover a little bit, which it's not really a big deal, but it did let me know that I didn't want to do that again. So what I did was went to Home Depot and found a little, it's actually a kitchen tile sample tag, but you can make a tag of your own or just use a little thin piece of wood or cardboard or whatever you've got. And I wrapped 3 different kinds of washi tape around the tag. That also gave me variety, so I didn't have just the same washi tape throughout my entire book. Gave me variety, and it kept me from having to always run to my studio to find washi tape to stick things into my book. This is nice and flat. You could stick it right into the back pocket of your journal. Well, if you're using a smash book, or if you've made a pocket in your journal, you can stick it right back in the back pocket, right with your little baggies or anything else that you're sticking back there. And it's not bulky, it doesn't take up a lot of space, but you've got a lot of washi tape on here that you can use. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's start talking about this year's journal. So again, I'm using a smash book, but you need to use whatever book is going to work for you. I like the smash book because it's got the elastic band already built onto it. It comes with the ink pen. Again, these pins you can find by themselves. They come in multiple colors. So if you're not using a smash book and you want this pen, you can find this pen at any craft store. Michael's, AC Moore, Hobby Lobby, any of those places sell them. Another thing I like about the smash book, again, if you're not using a smash book, you can totally do this in any book of your own. And if you want a tutorial about this, leave a comment in the Facebook group and I will do a tutorial showing you how to make this pocket in the back of your book. But it's just a little pocket to slip things into, and we're going to fill that pocket in just a little bit. But I'm showing you the basics of the book, the things that I really like and the things that are going to be handy for you, so that if you are hand making a journal or using an altered book or a composition book, you can add these little tweaks to your book, and it's just going to make your journal so much easier to work with throughout the year. I like that my journal has different decorated pages. If that is not something you want, then I really recommend that you make your own journal or use a composition book or something with plain pages so that you can decorate them on your own. Now let's get to it. Let's start making our book our own. The first thing I'm going to do is write a year in the life journal again on my front cover, and I need to put the year. I highly recommend that you put the year on the outside of your cover somewhere and also on the inside cover. Now I want to do my name and title page, and I also want to do a goal setting page. So last time in my book I covered the front and the back of this little page. However, I read this and I actually really like the little quote that's on here. So I'm going to leave this one as it is this year, and I'm actually just going to cover the back side a little bit, and this will be my goal setting sheet. And right here on the inside cover, I have plenty of room for important dates, but this is where I'm going to put my name and this year on the inside cover. You may not have a cover page or a title page. You may not have important dates. You may not have goals in your book. And I'm sure not everyone is going to be working in a smash book, so you may not even have anything like this. So I'm showing you the way I'm setting up my book just to give you some ideas. But you really need to set your year in the life journal up in a way that's going to work for you. So I'm just going to insert my title page here and do my little goals sheet, and then I will be back to set up some more of the pages in the book. I did my name and the year. I moved my important dates here just a little bit. I moved it down. I colored this little piece of tape that I had stuck here, and I also glued my goals page here on the back. Now, depending on the kind of paper that's in your journal, if you're doing a lot of gluing with things like gel medium, your pages may get a little rippled. If that does happen, you may want to use double-sided tape or a glue stick instead of gel medium. If you're using thicker paper or a handmade journal, then you may not have that problem, but especially with composition notebooks or, you know, even regular spiral notebooks, if that's what you're using, or things with thinner paper, you're gonna get rippling if you're using gel medium or paint or anything in this book. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, the next thing that I want to add to my journal is my word for the year. My word for 2014 is prosper. So I'm just going to write that here on my next inside page. And I just drew the circle around there because what I'm going to do is go back and journal all around here the things that I want to prosper this year, the things in my life that I want to prosper. I'm going to journal about all of that, just like I did for last year with my word achieve. I wrote my word, and then I went through and did some journaling about all of the things that I wanted to achieve for 2013. After the class is finished, I'm going to go through and journal about all the things that I want to prosper in my life for 2014. But I just want to get you started on these things and then really let you take the lead and do what you feel is going to work for you in this journal. Let the memory keeping begin. Okay, so I have collected a few little things already this year that I will stick into my book and kind of talk about them as I do. But we have had several snow days already, and my son has been out of school quite a bit, and I wanted to document all of that. So I'm just going to draw myself a little calendar here in the front of my book. You may want to draw a calendar or print and glue in a calendar at the beginning of each month. You may want to do monthly tabs, or you just may want to have your book free-flowing, kind of like mine was last year, and just write in it as things come along. Whatever's going to work for you is what you need to do in your book, but I'm going to draw a little calendar here for January at least, because he's missed a lot of school, and it's just going to be easier for me to have an actual calendar in here to go through and write those days. And now for some actual memory keeping. Since I have this calendar in here with the snow days marked in, I actually want to go through and do some journaling about the snow days, how many days he was out of school, why he was out of school, about the weather being crazy, all that stuff here. You don't have to do a whole lot of journaling in your book, but you may find that you write more on some days than you do on others. If you take a look at my book from last year, you'll find that some pages have a tiny bit of journaling or several days worth of journaling on one page, and other days have a lot of journaling per single page. It really just depended on what was going on at the time and how much of a memory I wanted to keep about certain things. So this entire page is all about one day, and then this page has a couple of different days on it. So you really just go with what is calling to you at the time. You may feel the need to journal a lot, which is great, and you may also feel the need to only write one little sentence, or you know, just a little, like this one here just says first day of spring. So you may just jot little notes in your journal. Just keep in mind, it's all about being free and you know, putting the information in here that's going to trigger your memory when you look back on it. So I'm just going to do a little bit of journaling here, and then I'll be back to talk some more about the things that you can add into your journal and kind of how to keep them in there. Alright, I just did some journaling here, and I flipped over to the next page and did some memory keeping on this page as well. One of the things that I wrote about was getting our no-fee passports taken care of. So I have an extra picture of my husband, only him, because my son and I have to have different paperwork than he does. So I just want to glue this picture, whoops, right here on the page with the journaling. And again, nothing special, no major layouts or anything. I'm just sticking the picture on the page where it'll fit. And I just use my glue stick from my pen. I also just stamped my little ticket stamp here and wrote 2014 and circled the month of January. Now it's up to you to just take it and run with it. Remember, you don't have to do anything that I've done here, but you can also incorporate some of these things in your journal if you like. I'm going to go back and do some journaling here about what I want to prosper in my life this year. And then I have some ephemera that I'm going to be sticking on this page. That's why I left it blank. And then I will be continuing on through the rest of the year in my journal. Let me quickly show you a couple of things that I keep in my journal all year round. I keep one of these little page addition tabs. You can stick an extra page into your journal. Again, if you want a tutorial of how to make these, then just leave a comment in the Facebook group and I can shoot a video for that. So I keep one of those just in my journal at all times, and I keep the things like this here in the back so that I always know where to go look for them. I also have more of those little treat baggies. And I loved keeping these in my journal because if you're traveling or if you keep your journal with you all the time, it's so easy to just grab this baggie and stick your little mementos in the baggie and put it right back into your journal. You can glue it right down or tape it down or use the, you know, whatever other attachments or adhesive you've got to put the baggies right into your journal then. And I also keep my tape with me. This year I'm using the tag, which is different from last year, but I really love this idea because it gives me a variety of washi tape, plus it keeps it nice and flat, and I've always got it with me. Another thing I'm doing differently this year is that I'm actually going to attach my little tag here to a piece of ribbon and hang it off of my book. And last year I just kept it taped on the inside, but I really like the idea of having this little dangly bit hanging from my Year in the Life journal. So, I'm just going to tie a few knots here. And then I'm going to tie it right here in the back, I think. Right in the very back. I'm going to loop it through. Maybe. There we go. And kind of measure where I want it to be. So now I've got my pretty little ribbon and my tag with my washi tape, and that will hang right on the outside of my journal. And I've also got, whoops, an additional piece of ribbon that I can attach something else to later on if I decide to. Actually, I have this cool little pin. It's Spock. It says live long and prosper. I think I'll actually just go ahead and attach that right to my ribbon as well. There we go. And that is the beginning of my year in the life journal. I just thought this was perfect because my word for the year is prosper, and I love Spock and Star Trek, and it says live long and prosper. So again, my word of the year right there on the front of my journal. And the last things that I want to add to my journal, again, I'm going to stick them right back here in this pocket, is just a sheet of these reinforcers. You can get these in your office supply department of any store, Walmart, Office Max, any place like that. Mine happen to be the Tim Holtz ones. You don't have to have those. You can have the plain white ones, and then you can paint them or stamp them or ink them and make them more unique for you. And I just want to keep a page of those in my journal. And I also want to keep a few sticky notes, just because if I find a page that has a lot of decoration on it and journaling doesn't show up very well, I want to be able to have a place to journal and have my journaling show up. So I'm just going to take probably a couple of each color and make my own stack. And just have this right in the back of my journal at all times. Actually, I'm going to spread them out, I think, so that they lay flatter. So now I have a bunch of sticky notes in here, but they're not taking up space and it's not bulky. It lays nice and flat. And I've always got them handy. And there we go. My Year in the Life journal is ready to go, and now all I have to do is go back and finish my little bits of journaling and add in my stuff from January, and then it's ready to go for the rest of the year. There you go. That is the setup and basic how-to of your Year in the Life journal. Now it's up to you to just take it and run with it. Remember, don't get so caught up in the details that you don't get anything done. There's no pressure, there's no rules. Just take your stuff and stick it in the book. Like, seriously. Don't put any pressure on yourself about this. Just get in there and do it. Just smash your stuff in the book. And remember, you can use any kind of book that works for you. I'm just getting mine started, but by the end of the year, you will have something that looks more like this if you just keep sticking your stuff in the book. So no need to feel any kind of pressure to learn techniques or do anything a certain way. Just, even if you're just sitting in there watching TV and gluing stuff in and doing a little bit of journaling about each little thing. It's, you know, there's no rules here. Do what you want. All right, I hope you found this class helpful and informative, and I hope it helps you to get all of that memorabilia out of the drawer, out of the box, out of the wherever you've got it stashed, and into a journal. And you can also go back and do previous years, even if it's not chronological order. Just take the stuff that's been sitting in a drawer and stick it in a book, even if it's not, you know, in the consecutive year. If you have the time to do that, if you want to take the time to do that, by all means, put it year by year. But if you just can't remember or you just don't feel like doing that, take the stuff out of the box and stick it in a book and write a little note about it. Even if you can't remember when it happened, write that. I have no idea when this took place, but it was a really good day and this is what we did. So, you know, you can go back and start this at any time. Go do previous years and just kind of play catch up. And if you are just now finding this class, it doesn't matter what day, what month, what year it is. pick it up from today and just keep it going forward from here. If you have stuff, you know, from January of this year and you want to go back and start at January and catch up for the year and pick it up where you are from now, that's great, but don't feel obligated to do that. Don't feel like you have to do that. Pick it up from today. Whatever you do from today forward, stick it in the journal, do a little bit of writing, and just get it in the book. Remember, if you have any questions or tutorial requests, leave it in the Facebook group. Tag me in there so that I am sure to see it and respond back to you and get tutorials and answer questions and things like that taken care of. Remember, you can find me all over the internet. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. So go find me and follow me on those places and I will follow you back. Remember, if you do friend me on Facebook, send me a little note and let me know how you found me so that I am sure to accept your friend request. And anytime you have any questions about anything in this class, be sure to leave it in the Facebook group and tag me. I don't think you can tag me if we're not friends, so be sure to send me a friend request as well if we are not already friends. Thanks so much for being here and spending your time with me. I really hope you find some benefit in this class, and I really hope that it's no pressure and that you feel like this is something you can actually do to finally get your stuff in a journal. I really hope that you get that, if nothing else, that you get that out of this class. Thanks so much for being here and spending your time with me today. Don't forget to go subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you don't miss any other upcoming classes or free tutorials that I have going on there. And I will see you next time. Mwah. Bye!